welcome to the Freelo Report Week 6. I'm your host, Starrman. Today we start with a quick look back at Week 6. We saw Cyber showing up with a solid and dominating lineup. Their fill player, XFX, was able to perform well, filling the shoes of Matatrev, although it was Tilly who was able to secure the MVP for Game 1. Not to be outdone, however, XFS showed again his salt, getting the MVP in Game 2. Last week, we saw a forfeit from Actually Challenger, meaning that Abandoned Gaming Black gets a free win in Game 1. Day 2, they also got a free win against Instinct, who was also forfeiting. Although we did not get to see Abandoned Gaming Black play, we did get to see Abandoned Gaming Red, and they played extremely well. Sadistic Soul was able to make a large impact, securing MVP on Day 1. However, no repeat performance as they lost to Cyber on Day 2. Interesting match, Club Ice faced off against the new Ferocity Esports. Club Ice has had its ups and downs, but according to their new captain, they're implementing new practice techniques as well as moving Eli Soul to the shot calling position. Team Captain Cry said, "I think the new practice shows in our matches this weekend, and that we're not running around with our heads up our asses." Club Ice was also able to pick up a win against Singularity. Speaking of which, Singularity has had a few new additions to their own roster. With mixed results, they went 1-1 this weekend. Now getting ready for Week 7, Team Instinct, fresh off that forfeit, also has a few swap-ups. They're subbing out Young Spirit for Sivitsky, as well as moving Daydreaming to attack damage from the mid lane. Taking his place in mid lane is I'm Solkaz. In addition to this, X-Dada, who has been a substitute for them, is going to be starting as their support player. Manager for Instinct said that this iteration of bot and mid has had very good success in scrims. They have high expectations this week. Another team, Gamma Esports, they've had a decent week going 1-1. However, Oathbreaker, very confident, said in an interview, "This roster is definitely top 3 and we are only playing at baseline." He also said, "I think this roster has the most potential overall." Obviously, Gamma has been fairly solid throughout the split, not a lot of changes going on, and they're very confident with their current lineup. I'm now going to throw it over to my buddy Manwalrus in the stats department, and he's going to give us a closer look into the league.
Hello people of Earth, Manwalrus is back again today with this week's edition of the Stats Report, and only he can talk about himself in the third person. Jokes aside, let's begin with a rundown of the top 5 lists. Sitting atop the charts right now are Built Up, who has farmed the most champions, Mr. GGATW with the most minions killed, I Played Dota twice with the most minion murders per game, Fred Fredersen feeds the least, and Jarl King, I'm not actually sure how to say his name, so let's just call him King, has the most assists as well as the best KDA ratio in the land. He's also my first player of the week, earning 55 assists in one weekend and only dying twice. Shout out to all the players on the list, and double shout out to the people I mentioned. And now we're going to be doing something that's hopefully interesting and reorder the standings based off of average team KDA, because here in the BSGL we all know that death is the best form of crowd control. The way we're going to be choosing who on each team is eligible for their KDAs to be added up into the team KDA is simply, we're only going to be using players who are currently on the roster and have played at least 2 games this season, meaning subs are included if they fit this criteria. And before I begin, let me say that some of these are grossly unfair. Some teams have played way more games than others, some teams have less than 5 people on their roster, and some teams have only 1 player that actually qualifies. Sorry, Instinct. So don't really take this too seriously, it's all in good fun. Anyways, right now, these are the standings. And these are the standings if we order them by Team KDA. Cyber still sits on top, with Gamma behind it, followed by Club Ice. The interesting thing is that Ferocity actually has the 4th best KDA after only a week of play. Also, AG Black, who are 8-4, have the 3rd lowest team KDA. That's all for me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be passing on the spotlight to Starman now for his interview.
Starman back here with Orb, the owner of the Abandoned Gaming brand. So given that Abandoned Gaming Black did not play at all this week, do you feel they missed out on some of the key practice that comes with versing those teams?
No. Free wins are nice. I hope it doesn't go to their head and inflate their egos even more than they already are. But they're still actively practicing against BSGL teams and Abandoned Gaming teams. Okay,
so Abandoned Gaming Red, big game, day 1, did pretty well there. They were not able to pull out a win against Cyber, though, on day 2. Does that concern you? You working out strategies for Cyber?
Yeah. For Cyber, we're dedicating all of our resources coaching and analyst stuff, all the pick ban comps, strategies, just to beat them to those two teams and those two teams only.
Okay. So since you have two teams that are very high in the standings, pretty sure both of them are going to go into playoffs, especially the way things are looking here. Tension build up between the two of them. Is that detectable or palpable there?
Yeah, it's slowly building. You can see it as they scrim each other less and less and talk to each other less and less. So it's definitely there.
Do you think the tension might hurt since they're not sharing as much knowledge, or do you think it's like a good kind of tension where they're just still communicating where it needs to be done?
They're still going over VOD reviews together, and we're still doing it as an org, so they're still learning, but they're not learning how each other play, which is the good part.
Okay. So you already mentioned a couple advantages there. More perspectives, VOD reviews, things like that. Is there any other really big advantages to having sister teams in the league?
Just the ability to hide practices from teams in the league. We can scrim and get the same level of practice that we get in the BSGL without actually having to show BSGL teams what we're doing.
Okay. So you've got quite a few teams in your org here. You have a tier list, more or less, which teams you consider the best or the highest, or ones you dedicate most resources to?
Definitely red and black. We pretty much pour all of our resources into them because they're performing the best and they deserve it.
Okay. We already mentioned cyber a little bit there. Who really is the biggest threat to your org?
Only cyber. They are the only team that is threatening in the least bit.
Okay. You have any follow-up thoughts about the BSGL in general or in relation to your teams?
Nope. It's ran beautifully. I love legit. I'm a big Starman fan. And
thanks.
cyber better tone down that aggression in the BSGL before red and white smack them around a little bit for it.
I like the confidence. Well then, that concludes the Freelo Report.
There is no version of this where you come out on top.
Let me infiltrate the beat, concentrate the heat. If you ain't on my level, fuck it, let me be. I'll be going till it's all in motion, talking killer rappers. Then I hit my quota, and my train of thought is more a locomotive. Talking reason for it, I got locomotive.